Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. I'm back today with another plant video. Jesse and I moved to a new house in October and things have been kind of crazy since then, but we're finally settled in and I'm finally ready to give you guys a houseplant tour. So today's video is going to be part one of my fall and winter 2021 houseplant tour, and we are going to look at the plants I keep here in my living room, and next time I'll show you the plants I keep in my bedroom. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, it's kind of weird filming a houseplant tour in a new house because I'm so used to starting in my kitchen, but currently I don't have any plants in my kitchen, so we are going to start at this little side table in my entryway. So the first plants I have here are in this little fake window thing. I got this at Gordman several years ago, and I just put a couple different plants in here. The first two right here are some Marble Queen pothos, and then this one is a Monstera adansonii, and then I have a little Scindapsus tribii moonlight. I have several of those that you'll see in this video. Anyway, on this little table here, I have a Hoya australis, and this one I've had for a couple years. It was much longer, but I ended up chopping it to propagate it, and I'll show you the baby that I made from it. It's actually in my living room as well. Next to that, I have a philodendron Birkin. I bought this when they were like all the rage, so I spent like 40 bucks on it. I do really like this plant though. I think it's really pretty, and it's putting out a lot of really variegated leaves, which is cool because I thought for a while it might be reverting because it was throwing out some red leaves. The red did fade to green, and then now it's just putting out white, so kind of interesting. This one is a philodendron lemon lime. I have had this one for a few years as well, and I chopped it down to the soil to encourage more growth. So it's looking a lot bushier lately. I probably need to repot it soon, but I don't really want to do that in the winter time. Down here, I have some cacti all potted together. I don't know all the types, but I know that this one is some type of barrel cactus, and this one is a fairy tale castle. I don't know what this one is, but my friend Michaela gave me that one for my birthday a few years ago, so that one means a lot to me. This one is a black jewel orchid. The scientific name is right here. I do have another black jewel orchid of a different type that I'll show you. It's on my coffee table. And this one is a Euphorbia fire sticks. Here I have a Monstera adansonii. I originally bought this one just to propagate, so I did chop it down to the soil. So everything you're looking at is all new growth. And then here is a Dieffenbachia. Jesse bought me this one for our anniversary a few years ago. I think around 3 or 4 years ago. I can't really keep track, but it kind of goes through periods of loving life and then hating life. Right now, it seems to be loving life, and it's putting out a ton of new growth for me, which is really cool. Over here next to the couch, I have another little end table, and on this one I have a Syngonium Maria Illusion. I got this one from Home Depot or Lowe's a few years ago, and I probably need to repot it, to be honest. I haven't really paid that much attention to it, but it always seems happy no matter what. And then this one is a Hoya pubicalix or pubicalix. This one is the silver pink variety. In bright light, the variegation will get kind of a pink color. Mine was kind of in low light before we moved, so that's why it's not like super variegated, but now it gets a lot of morning sun, so I'm hoping the color will come out. And then this is not a permanent location by any means, but right here I have a Scindapsus Pictus Silvery Ann. I picked this one up over the summer at King Soopers. I think I paid like $13 for this one, which I thought was an amazing deal. And yeah, I love Scindapsus plants, so you guys are gonna see so many of these in this video. I haven't found it a permanent spot, but it's kind of out of the way right now, so that's fine. And then I have some floating shelves right here, so we'll take a closer look at those. Up here I have a Peperomia glabella. I've had this one for a really long time and it kind of hates me, but it's still alive, so that's cool. This one is a Scindapsus Pictus argyrius. This was my first one in my old apartment, and I have several of these now. Every time I see one, I buy it because I really love these plants. I don't know why. This one is some type of Tradescantia. I do not know the kind, but I got this one a few years ago from a family friend. I really don't do well with Tradescantia, but I have been able to keep that one alive. It's not happy, but it is living. Here is a domino cactus. I can't remember when I got this one. I think it's been a little over a year, but it is putting out a little flower bud right there. The flowers on these cacti are so cool, but they only last one day, which is kind of sad. And he did grow really weird shaped over last winter because he didn't have a lot of sun, but that's okay. I still like it. This one is another cactus. I got this one from Target a few years ago and I rescued it from the shade. I don't know what kind of cactus it is, but it's grown a ton. It used to be a tiny round thing and it shot up over the summertime. This one is a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. I just repotted this one, so it's kind of looking upset with me, but hopefully it'll adjust soon. And then here is a Ceropegia woodii string of spades. It's a lot like the string of hearts, but the leaves are longer and they don't have the variegation. It used to be a lot cooler looking, but the leaves kind of changed shape over the years that I've had it. I keep propagating it and the leaves kind of got rounder over time, but I'm not mad at that. Here is a Opuntia Santa Rita. In the sunlight, this one will turn purple, which is really cool. Of course, it's almost winter where I live, so it's just kind of hibernating right now, not looking too great. This one is a Sansevieria Hanii, I believe. It's a little bird nest Sansevieria. I also got that one from Target. Here is a little Enjoy Pothos. A couple of leaves are dying here because I tend to neglect this one. I made it from some cuttings of my larger plant. And this one is a Rhaphidophora decursiva. Jessie got me this one for our anniversary this year. It hasn't really grown a whole lot since I got it, but that's okay. I think it's really cool. Down on this lower shelf, I have my Philodendron micans, and I absolutely love this plant. I included it in my top 10 favorite plants video because the leaves are just so pretty and I never get over looking at it. They have kind of an iridescence to them in the sunlight and it's always happy no matter what, and it grows really quickly too. This one is a Peperomia Hope. It's one of the only Peperomias I actually do really well with. I'm not sure why. Mine's throwing a fit right now, but it kind of goes through phases and it's still actively growing. It keeps putting out kind of heart-shaped leaves, which is really cute. Here's another cactus. Again, I do not know the type. I have a lot of cacti because I do pretty well with them, but I'm not really good at identifying them. If anyone knows what kind this is, let me know. And same goes for this one. This is another one that I picked up on our anniversary this year. I think I paid like $3 or something for this one. Mainly we got it to put in this cute little turtle pot. Here I have some cuttings of a Hoya pubicalis. These are from my favorite Hoya that was damaged in the move, sadly, and I didn't want to waste the pieces, so I did throw them in some water, and they are rooting, if you can see in there, barely. This one is a Hoya curtisii. I have a few of these. I really have an addiction to propagating my plants, so I have way too many babies all over the house. This one is a Cebu Blue Pothos. I used to have a much larger one I purchased at Lowe's or Home Depot. Sadly, I overwatered it and I killed most of the plant, but I was able to save a few pieces. That's kind of what you're looking at right now. And this one is a Dischidia Jerry or Dischidia Green Cascade. I got this one off of Etsy as a tiny cutting a couple summers ago, and I think it's so cute. It was my first Dischidia. Once I realized they were related to Hoyas, I decided to start collecting them as well because I love Hoyas. So of course I love everything related to Hoyas. Speaking of Hoyas, here's a Hoya obovata. This is another multiple. I kind of realized that once I like a plant, I will continue buying that same plant whenever I see a healthy one. Here is another Scindapsus Moonlight. And then this is a curly lipstick plant. The leaves are kind of interesting on this one because when they first start out, they look like a normal lipstick plant, but as they mature, they kind of curl in on themselves and they end up looking like this. This one has not flowered for me yet, but I'm usually pretty good with lipstick plants, so I'm hoping it will soon. It has grown a lot though. Here is my coffee table, and this is the same coffee table plant I had in my last houseplant tour. So this is my black jewel orchid. It is kind of ugly right now because I've been in the process of propagating it to fill out the pot. That's why it's kind of chopped up everywhere. But I'm making progress and it's still actively growing. I don't normally do well with orchids, but I've found that I do actually very nicely with terrestrial orchids. So the ones that grow in actual soil and not just bark, actually do pretty good with, luckily. This next little area is just next to my windows, and these plants don't live here on a permanent basis. They are just here because I had to put my Christmas tree in the corner where they were. So they're just here till January. But I have a Marble Queen Pothos sitting right here. This was my very first Marble Queen, and I've propagated this one more times than I could even imagine counting. But I never get tired of this one. I think it is so pretty. Mine likes to put out a lot of all white leaves, which is pretty cool. And I never get tired of looking at it. Here I have a Scindapsus pictus exotica. This was my first exotica, and it's grown a lot over the years. It's actually about time for me to repot this one, but I don't want to do it over the winter time. It is getting kind of sparse up here near the soil. Here I have a bird of paradise that I rescued from Home Depot over the summertime. It is growing actively, and All of the new leaves are very healthy and green, so that's good. It hasn't flowered or anything for me yet, but hopefully it will. And then on my fireplace, because I actually have a fireplace now, I have my Monstera Deliciosa. I had a larger one of these, but I killed most of it by sunburning it. So this is my newer one. And this one is really happy all the time. It's growing very quickly. No complaints. Next to that, I have a burgundy ficus, a little rubber tree. It used to be a lot more red and it turned green over time, but that's okay. One of my easiest plants, hands down. Over here, I have another Silvery Ann. This one has been really enjoying the new place. It's putting out a lot of new leaves for me, which is good. This one is a Hoya carnosa Splash. And then this is one of my favorite plants in my whole collection, my Hoya serpens. I got this one from a tiny nursery in Highlands Ranch a couple years ago, and it's grown a lot. I've also propagated it a lot. I think the leaves are so cute and they're kind of fuzzy. Here I have a Hoya shepherdii, or a string bean Hoya. I've had that one for a couple years now. And then here is my Hoya australis that I mentioned a little bit ago. I created this one from cuttings of that other plant. It's growing a ton. Here's some new leaves right here. And then down on this part of my fireplace, I have a philodendron cellulum, or philodendron hope. This is one that I chopped down to the soil, and so this is all new growth. You can see it's not very happy with me. It has been lacking nutrients and it probably wants a new pot, but I will get around to it. It is still actively growing, luckily. Here is another sad looking plant. This is my dwarf Meyer lemon tree. And it's sad because it's getting to be winter time here in Colorado and it cannot be outside where it wants to be. It's working on a couple lemons at the time, kind of out of season, but that's okay. And then here is a Hoya lacunosa. I've had this one for I think 2 years now, 2 or 3. And I don't have a lot to say about this one. I really love it though. I think the leaves are kind of cute. It reminds me of a Hoya bella, but less organized looking, if that makes sense. Mine's never flowered for me, but maybe it will. I have it in this little basket I found at Target. And then back here, I have a Sansevieria zeylanica. This one is kind of staked up right now because it fell over when we were moving and I didn't want to damage it further, so I have it kind of tied in there. It is growing finally, luckily. This is one from that family friend I mentioned earlier, and this plant actually originally belonged to her grandmother, so this is a piece of that plant and it's actually older than I am. Kind of crazy. In front of my fireplace, I have this clothing rack. This is not permanent here. I just have it here because I get a lot of really good morning sunlight in this spot and I wanted these plants to enjoy that. The first one I have hanging here is a Cissus discolor. I wanted this plant for the longest time. It was on my wish list for over a year. I finally found it and it hates me. If you have any care tips for this one, please let me know. The leaves keep shriveling up on me and falling off. And then some of the leaves are getting these yellow spots. So I don't know what's wrong with it. It is actively growing though, so it's kind of confusing. It's putting out a ton of new leaves for me, but it seems to be losing leaves at the same rate. So let me know, because I would like to keep that one alive. Here is a Discaria ruscifolia or ruscifolia. I got this one at Southwest Gardens, I believe, a couple of years ago. It's a super easy plant. This one is sometimes called a million hearts plant because the leaves look like little hearts. And then I have another Discaria next to that. This one is a variegated Jerry, or the variegated green cascade. Mine has not been happy with me lately. I'm not sure why. It could just be the move was stressful, or the fact that we're getting less light here because it's going to be winter time. But hopefully it'll snap out of it and be happy soon. Down here I have a bunch of the same types of plants. These are all propagations of mine that I took for my Etsy shop. Obviously I don't want to send plants out over the winter time, so these are just kind of hanging out until next summer. But here's a little Sis's discolor leaf right here, see? Fell off. Anyway, I've got Hoya Crinkle 8 cuttings, some Discaria ruscifolia. I have a bunch of lipstick plant cuttings growing. That one's trying to flower right now. I just have them in these little solo cups. It was kind of an experiment because I normally like to propagate things in leca. And then I have a bunch of Hoya Chelseas right here that I propagated from a larger plant of mine. And these are all about a year old now because I first cut the plant in, I think, October or November of 2020. So happy birthday, little guys. They're all doing well. They're all actively growing, which is cool. And they are just waiting to go to new homes next summer. We have these random shelves next to our TV. So I ended up putting a philodendron Imperial Red, I believe is the name of that one. But I don't know if I'll move it or what. I just kind of needed something to put on a shelf so it wasn't so empty. Here I have a Hoya Shepherdii hanging, and it doesn't really seem to enjoy the new house yet, but I think it just needs some time to get used to things, hopefully. Here's my beautiful Christmas tree. So many fun ornaments. And then this is one of my favorite plants. I mentioned it a little bit ago. It was damaged in the move, sadly. This one is a Hoya pubicalyx Silver Splash. I've had this one for about 3 years now, almost 4. And I never wanted to cut it, but sadly a few of the branches did get damaged in the move. And that's okay. I think it'll grow back stronger. It is still really pretty. That is everything in this little section of the living room. But our living room is kind of divided into 2 parts, so I have some more to keep showing you. If you've seen my other houseplant tours, you might remember these little cube shelves, and they ended up fitting perfectly against this wall here. On the top of this one, I have another Scindapsus exotica. This one likes to put out a bunch of all silver leaves, which is really cool. Here I have a Sansevieria Bantel Sensation. I purchased the mother plant from my friend Ashlyn because she is obsessed with snake plants, and I ended up repotting it for her, and I kept a little piece for myself. I forget the name of this one. I think it's Sansevieria Kirkii. Something like that, I believe. But I got this one at a teeny tiny cactus shop that was family owned called Al's. I think that one's in Arvada, but I like to check them out every summertime. They always have something cool. Here is another Marble Queen pothos. I have several of these all around the house. Here is a Hoya obovata. Again, I have several of these. Here is a Hoya Crimson Queen. This one's putting out an all pink leaf, which is really cool. That will fade to white, but I like the pink when it first comes in. Here's another Exotica. This one I got from the flower bin, I think, and it was so full that all the leaves were crinkled up like this. I did split it up into a couple different pots so that the leaves have more room now, which is good because it's finally able to start growing again, and the leaves are looking a bit more normal. Here I have a Sansevieria Black Dragon piece. It snapped off from my larger plant, so I decided to propagate it. And here is a little baby it's putting out. It's just in this moth pot that I painted. This one is a Peperomia cubensis. It's another easy peperomia that I've been able to keep alive and healthy. Normally peperomias don't really like me, so it's really lucky when I find one I can keep alive, because I love peperomias and I wish they felt the same, but alas. This one is a Rhaphidophora Hay, and I need to extend its board because it's deciding to climb off, but that's okay. It is a shingling plant, so it will do best on a board like this. I got mine from King Soopers over the summertime. It was a wish list plant. Hopefully it doesn't start putting roots into the wall though, that would be bad. On this shelf I have a curly orchid cactus. I went through a phase of wanting to collect a bunch of different orchid cacti or jungle cacti, so I have several similar plants, but I've been wanting a curly one for a long time, and I ended up purchasing this at Tagawa Gardens in Aurora, and I had a gift card for the exact amount of the plant in my wallet, so I kind of got this one for free actually. On this shelf, I have a Hoya Crimson Princess. You can see it's a princess and not a queen because the white is on the inside of the leaf instead of the edges. This is a little oxalis plant. My friend Ashlyn has a bunch of these and she shared them with me a couple summers ago. I've chopped it down to the soil like 6 times and it always grows back. I know some people actually consider these a weed, but I think they're really cute, and I like that the backs are purple. Here is another Scindapsus Pictus argyrius. A lot of people call this one a silver satin pothos. Here is a Hoya carnosa. This one is just a regular green one. Nothing special, but I still appreciate it. Down here, I have a Begonia Rex. I don't know the variety because I'm not a big begonia person. This was one of my first begonias, however, and I got this one from Home Depot. I have kept it alive for a couple years now, luckily, and it probably needs a repot, but most of my plants do. Let's be honest, most of my plants need to be repotted, but I'm a procrastinator. Here I have a Hoya Crinkle 8. I got this one over the summertime with the intention to propagate it. I have a lot of plants that I got just to propagate. Here I have another Cebu Blue. This one has the same mother plant as the one I showed you a little bit ago. This one's not as happy right now. I think I forgot to water it for a few weeks, so it kind of lost a few leaves, but it's doing okay. And then this is a Jade Pothos. I got this one actually when I first moved into my old apartment. It was one of my first houseplants there, and I killed all of the plant except for this one little piece. And it's only ever been like 2 or 3 leaves at a time, but that's okay. I don't really talk about my fish tank a lot, but I have some live plants in there as well. I won't go into too much detail, but I thought you might want to look at it. Currently, I just have some little panda cories in there. I have 6 of them, and then a couple snails. We are moving on to the other side. So here I have a philodendron Xanadu. It used to be much larger, but I chopped it down to the soil. The reason I did that to so many plants is because I was battling thrips last summer, summer 2020 I mean, and a lot of my plants suffered for it, but luckily we did defeat all the bugs and everything is making a recovery. Moving on, I have a angel wing begonia. I think this one is meant to be an outdoor plant, but I always kept it inside anyway because I thought it was really pretty. It has little pink flowers when it does. And here is a Anthurium superbum. I got this one for I think $15 or so at City Floral in Denver. And I think this plant gets very large when it's fully grown. Mine seems to be on a pause from growing. Here is a strawberry begonia. Technically, it's not a begonia. I do know that, but that is what it's commonly referred to as. This white powder here is just diatomaceous earth because I was dealing with some fungus gnats. This one is not very happy with me because it did get a little bit damaged in the move, but I think it'll make a good recovery because it's a super easy plant. Here is another silvery Anne. This one has a ton of silver. It's really cool. This one I created entirely from cuttings of that one I showed you near my doorway. And then here is a Sansevieria sayori. I'm not sure how you say it, but my friend Ashlyn, who's obsessed with snake plants, like I said, she had a much larger one and she gave me several cuttings of it and they did root successfully. Here is my whalefin Sansevieria. I've had this one for almost a year now, I believe, maybe a little over a year, but all it's ever done is put out this leaf right here and then it stopped growing. I still think it's really cool to look at though. And this one is a starfish, Sansevieria. Really cute, and it's putting a little baby out right here. I just repotted this one, and it seems to be doing very well. And this one is some type of Algerian ivy. I have had this one for 2 years now. I got this a couple Christmases ago at Nick's Garden. And it's looking kind of sad right now because it used to be in my very low light kitchen and it has battled spider mites like 3 times, but it keeps coming back and it keeps growing, so very happy. Here I have another Exotica. I lost count already, how about you? This is one that I split up from that much larger one like I mentioned. Here is a Hoya Crinkle 8 that I propagated about a year ago. It's grown a lot. I did place a lot of my normal Etsy inventory amongst my other plants just to kind of get them out of the way. But normally this one is on my Etsy shop, and that will resume probably around May of next year. Here is a black pagoda lipstick plant. I have several of these. Here is a peperomia tetragona. Some people call this one a parallel peperomia. The leaves are really cool. They kind of feel like cardboard or plastic. They're very rough feeling. This is another peperomia that I do pretty well with, luckily. Here is another Scindapsus trubii moonlight. This one is actively growing right now. I created this one from cuttings. Here is a Sansevieria samurai. I've had it for over a year and it doesn't really do anything. I like snake plants. I mostly got into them because my friend Ashlyn likes snake plants, but I think they're kind of cool. Down here, I have an Aglaonema. I don't know the kind, but I felt compelled to get that one because it was kind of dying in the clearance section at a nursery. I think I paid $2 for that. And then here is a Hoya Chelsea. It's really, really sad right now because it did not like being repotted over the summertime. So it's kind of still trying to recover from being repotted. I don't know why, but it is still growing. And then here is a Hoya carnosa compacta. Some people call this one a Hindu rope. It's a super slow grower. Mine did grow a bit over summertime, luckily. And it started putting out some splashy leaves, which is interesting. I'm desperately trying to find a variegated one, but they're so expensive. I'm waiting for them to become more mass produced, so hopefully soon I'll get one. Here is another Hoya Crinkle 8. The white stuff on the leaves is just dried diatomaceous earth mixed with water. And then here's another black pagoda lipstick plant. I put it in this old orchid pot. That's why it's on this plate right now, so it doesn't destroy my shelf. That's everything on these shelves. Okay, we are on the last little part of the living room tour. So we'll start at the very top here. I have a ZZ plant. Jesse got me that one from Target. He rescued it from the cold, he said. There is an Aglaonema. I don't know the type. I got that one because I know they don't need a ton of attention or light, and I got it for my last apartment because I had a lot of low light there. Here is another Aglaonema. I don't know the kind. Again, this one has some pink on the leaves, however, sometimes I want to show you the prettier. There we go. This one gets some pink on its leaves, which is pretty. And then they kind of fade to green. And then I have a Raven ZZ. Everybody was on the hunt for these last year. I ended up finding it at King Soopers. My friend was searching desperately for one, and I ended up getting her one for Christmas. Yay! And I got myself one too. Here is a Philodendron scandens, or a heartleaf philodendron. I showed you guys this one in my big box store plant haul over the summertime, but it is another one that I got from King Soopers, and it's growing so crazy. This whole vine here is almost to the floor. In fact, it might reach the floor. Yep. Sorry, my heater's kicking on right now. You're gonna hear that, but it is like 20 degrees Fahrenheit outside, so I'm sorry. Here is a black pagoda lipstick plant. I got this one from a mall kiosk a couple years ago. It was kind of sitting in the dark and I felt bad for it, but look at it now. It's so full and pretty. I've been working really hard to propagate this one to fill out the pot, and it's in this super cute vintage looking watering can. These are all fake plants in here. This is a real bobcat skull though. I created this terrarium display for the skull. We purchased that one in Manitou Springs. Here is another Peperomia Hope. This one I propagated from my mother plant. I have a little acorn sitting there. I'm only mentioning it because I think you probably saw it already. My sister Sydney loves acorns and she left that at my house last time she visited. Here is some type of Adramicious. Losing some leaves as I touch it. I got this one from Walmart during Valentine's Day clearance sale. So I paid like $3 for this thing. And I like to think that I rescued it, but I did sunburn it over the summertime. It's coming back nicely, however, aside from me knocking leaves off of it. Here is a Paeonia repens, or watermelon vine. It's kind of cool looking. Mine's not very healthy because I think it wants much higher humidity, but I am keeping it alive, so that's good. Here is a jar of peperomias. There's some Peperomia Hope in there and some Peperomia cubensis. I found some pest snails on one of my orchids and I didn't want to kill them, so I just created a home for them in a contained enclosure. That way they don't kill plants I don't want them to kill. Here is my favorite Scindapsus tribii Moonlight. I did get this one from King Soopers during the big Casa Farm drop last November. So I've had this one for a year now, and this one I propagated a bunch of those smaller plants from that you saw, but it's still growing really nicely and very healthy. I think it's so pretty. Here are a couple snake plants. This one is a Honii, I believe. It's another bird nest Sansevieria that I got from Target. This one is a Sansevieria fernwood. It's got really long, skinny leaves. I think it's super cool. I got this one from the same little plant kiosk at the mall that I got this one. And then these are all things that I've propagated. I put them in this little tin from Target. Here's an Exotica and a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma and a Mona Lisa lipstick plant. This one is a variegated Schefflera. I got this one from the fairy garden section in a little nursery, so I paid, I think, $1 for this. It was kind of an impulse buy. A lot of my plants are, if I'm being honest. Here's another Moonlight. And then this is a Calicia repens. It's related to Tradescantia, so I'm killing it, of course. But I've had this one for a couple years and it's not thriving, but it is surviving. And that's all I can say. I can relate. Here is another jar of peperomias and snails. And that's pretty much it. Alright, so that is everything for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in part 2. Bye!